Of all the DC properties to capture and hold the public imagination, I don't think a decade ago anybody would have called Suicide Squad, but here we are. A dark time where gallows humor in the brightest universe possible is the only redeemable part of a dark, gritty universe crafted by somebody who fundamentally misunderstands the appeal of the intellectual property that they are tasked with adapting. Snyder. The Suicide Squad, however, is by and large frequently a lot of fun from a director and his collaborators that I genuinely enjoy. Was it good? Yes, absolutely. I had fun. Was it good for the reasons that you think? I'm not quite sure. I'm talking The Suicide Squad this week, the movie that may have killed cinema as we know it forever. I'm Dan Umpton, and this is the Doomcast. Hey, thanks for watching. I make about one video a week and they're all pretty great, so do me a favor and hit the subscribe button and the bell so that you see them whenever they drop. Thanks a lot. So first off, let's acknowledge that spoilers follow and that if you haven't seen this movie yet, that you should just skip the rest of this, please, without getting mad at me. I've been a fan of James Gunn since Slither and Super. I've genuinely enjoyed what a weird machine and collaborative crew that this guy has assembled and built, but his films are not without their shortcomings. That's not to say that modern superhero film is either at all. I'm sorry that this popular blockbuster genre isn't quite high art, but at the very least this movie is mostly fun throughout. The good is it's very funny, as you might expect. The beginning of the movie openly dispatches half of the characters that you saw in trailers in a very indisputable way, like none of these survived and they're not spinning off. Well, maybe not all of them. These characters die very violently for the most part, and if you're looking for substantive character development in this or any other superhero film, I'm sorry, but I don't think you're going to find it in spades. A large chunk of the character development in the movie centered around Bloodsport, a character clearly readapted down to the part of his daughter from Will Smith, who was probably supposed to play Deadshot, but it was apparently too good to do this sequel, which was not beyond the classically trained British Idris Elba. Yes, Deadshot was clearly in the original script, and now we are all better off for it because Idris Elba was, as always, spot on. Bloodsport leads a team of prisoners forced into labor by the federal government to assist in the violent overthrow of a newly established government by a military junta which itself overthrew the US and CIA-friendly and backed government in its own banana republic. If you're wondering if this fully indicts US intervention, no, not explicitly. If you're wondering if it openly praises it, well, keep watching. Because before long you get John Cena's Peacemaker, and it's worth noting that Peacemaker gets adapted into The Watchmen as the comedian, but in this version, this iteration is a fully jingoistic, unquestionably loyal servant of the federal government, clearly a piece of human excrement, and highly likable in how unlikable they actually are. And I'm not quite sure that that's subversion. It's not. But I'm also not quite sure that the people that will come away loving Peacemaker as a character will do so because the character is clearly a pastiche of boomer chicken hawk military interventionism and lampooning that, probably in my reading of the film. The crew is tasked with destroying information held in a small island nation off the coast of South America, which has been hiding a US-funded experiment inside of a Nazi-started research lab on a spaceborne organism, which ends up being Starro, the Conqueror, a starfish that uses their offspring to attach to and control the minds of any living organism. In the process, Harley manages to get herself captured and into a romance with a charismatic, sexy would-be military dictator. Peacemaker and Bloodsport kill a camp of rebels who saved Rick Flag. Cena's Peacemaker turning on the team to help the cover-up of US involvement with Starro was predictable enough, but still made a capable and pretty great heel turn. And while I have to hand it to Margot Robbie's Harley Quinn and fan favorite King Shark, and Stallone did a great job, but I still love Ron Funches, many of their sequences still feel very clearly Snyder's influence. But David Dastmalchian, and holy shit, I hope I'm pronouncing that name right, his Polka Dot Man is fully a Gunn interpretation, it seems to me. And while most of the characters do remain pretty one-dimensional, that works in both format and concept since most of them are literally throwaway villain characters, some of whom haven't been published in decades, maybe not even more than once, if ever at all. It's especially funny that this team of mostly no-name villains takes down the first real villain to oppose the Justice League in comics, a character that would have made a great antagonist to an introductory Justice League film. Better than what we got, probably, but whatever. The Suicide Squad pretty well met my expectations as a well put together and entertaining action comedy, and it may have even done a subversive thing or two, and all in all, it's one of the better entries into the DC film universe. However, here's why it may have crippled movie-going experiences in the future. The fact that it was released on HBO Max simultaneously, this seems to be nerfing its box office draw, despite it being helmed by a very popular director with very popular characters. It's still not doing well financially, despite it being very good. I don't know if that means a ton of people stayed home to watch it, but I'm not even sure it's going to end up getting a sequel. It would be great to see more Ratcatcher at King Shark, and be great to see Gunn's interpretation of this franchise because it seems particularly suited to him and the crew that generally does his films. But what sells, sells. And I'm not going to hold out hope, unfortunately. Thanks everybody for watching. This has been the Doomcast. We'll see you next week.